welcome everyone to Harmony and Health. My name is Cassandra Mulcahy. I work here as the licensed music therapist, and I love creating these collaborations with everyone. We get to come together and share our wealth of wisdom from various traditions and knowledge bases. And it is my esteemed pleasure to tune in today on the 5 elements. And we're going to begin with Julie, our Qigong teacher.
Yeah, this is a really, I'd say, very creative team of people that work here at the Park Avenue Medical Center, and I love that thanks to Cassandra, this is her creation, this program, that we've done some already really amazing programs that you can go back and watch as well. So I'm going to be speaking about the 5 elements, and I have a couple of photographs or images to show you. We're going to be moving those, but let me just show you the first image, which I'm happy to send to all of you. It's kind of looks like a puzzle, and it is a puzzle. It shows you a lot that we're going to be covering in movement today. No, that's okay. So, in fact, why don't we just start with where we are right now? We're at 5 p.m. And you see where it says water, kidney? We're actually in kidney time of day. For 2 hours, our kidneys are needing a lot of attention. This is the most important time of day to give your kidneys your attention, between 5 and 7. And the kidneys are governed by the water element. Preceding kidney was bladder. They're both water element. Every organ system has 2 organs. One is yin, kidney, bladder's yang. And between 3 and 7 p.m., so bladder and kidney, is the water time of day. A great time of day to do Qigong, to do yoga, to listen to sound, to go in the water, to drink water, to hydrate, to lie on your back and push your kidneys into the earth, to take your shoes off and get outside. So this also just carries on with the colors that I'll be drawing into our practice. Kidney and bladder water is blue, but really dark blue, almost black.
My apologies.
No, that's okay.
I'm having a hard time projecting the correct one on Zoom. We've got it right here, but okay.
You can stay with the chart if you want.
All right.
Yeah, it's fine. And then from the water, we're going to go into fire, which is basically red, pink. Think of a sunset or a sunrise. And then from fire, we move into the wood element that oversees your liver and your gallbladder, and that's the color green. And that's a very calming color, a very good color for cleansing and restabilizing. That's a photo I took at Sticks and Stones Farm up in Newtown. And from wood, we go to metal. Metal is your lungs and your large intestine. The season's autumn. And the color is actually white. They can't really display white. It's not purple, but it's white. And then we go to the earth element, which is not a bright yellow. It's more of an earthy yellow. And that's for your spleen and your stomach. And you could also incorporate your pancreas into that. So I'll send this to all of you. In fact, I'll ask Cassandra to do that.
Yeah.
But I have all of your emails, so I can also send it to you. I like this because it shows you the time of day for every organ system and the corresponding colors and some of the key elements like kidney, store nutrients, build bone, heart, or blood energy is lunchtime. So anyway, let's begin with movement. And I would love you to stand. I'm feeling a little sluggish with this weather, and I hope that, by the way, you can totally do this in a chair. But if you want to stand, then why not? You can take your shoes off if you wish. And we'll go to the first slide, which is liver, and let's just sort of shake, move the body, maybe do a little organ cleansing. Let's look at that slide of the vibrant greens of the trees and the moss. Again, that was taken at Sticks and Stones Farm in Newtown. If you haven't been, I highly recommend it. And we'll stay with this slide for a while as we just pay attention to how this sort of side-to-side movement helps to detox the liver, right? Side to side. Like you're shaking a mason jar that has sediment and you're shaking it up to kind of just not agitate and irritate, but to move the stagnation, the sluggishness. You might even take some, or some, and then let's lift our arms up like we're a tree and maybe bend side to side like a tree blowing in the wind. So this is the wood element. You can be like that tree. These images good too. You can be like the wood element.
Sorry, I'll be back with
like
us in a
the
moment.
trees, bending, flexible, yet yielding, adaptable. Your fingers are the leaves, your arms are the branches. Maybe you go down and just sort of move your shoulders back now, undulating. Just keep the body moving. This is intelligent movement. Qigong is intelligent movement. So whatever you want to do right now, even wrap your arms around your torso and let the hands land on the upper rib cage. We're landing on the meridian points for the liver, right on the upper rib cage, basically below the nipple line. That's called gate of hope. It's wonderful to know that we have a gate of hope. Nice. And then you can place your hands here and massage the upper rib cage. So this is if David was here, our acupuncturist, and he is amazing, David McLean, he might give you more information on the meridian, the liver meridian, but it ends here. And it begins in your big toe. So press your big toe into the floor, spread your toes, and breathe into your rib cage. As you think about energy moving up from your big toe, up the inside of the legs, into your ribs. Smiling into your liver. Thanking your liver and its partner, gallbladder, for carrying out your vision, for its ability to detox the body very safely. And then squeeze like lemon, the sour flavor, open up like a tree. Squeeze the body, squeeze the lymph. Help the body to move blood, lymph fluids. Again, all of this is for the liver, for the wood element. Very good. And then before we move on to fire, let's wash our eyes. If you want to face the window and get in the trees, bring in that green color into your eyes. Your eyes are directly connected to the functionality of your liver and your gallbladder. If you don't have a gallbladder, it's no problem. It's there energetically. It's working for you as your engineer, carrying out your vision. Do a little forest bathing of the eyes, quiet the eyes. You can even close the eyes, but keep bringing that green color into the eyes. And then end with palming over the eyes. Just create a little seal of darkness and let the eyes rest and give gratitude for the wood element. Put your hands back now on your liver, upper right rib cage, and let's breathe in some kindness to ourselves. And let's breathe out times when we feel irritable, angry, thwarted. Breathe in kindness and forgiveness towards someone else in your life. Breathe out a smile. And allow those emotions of kindness and forgiveness and anger and irritability to harmonize. Color is green. Very good. Up to your heart, our energetic heart, right in the center. I know our physical heart's here, but I want you to just think about the heart sort of encompassing this whole area. Color is red. And we're going to see an image of a sun at some point. And it's all good if we don't see it. There it is. And there we go. So imagine you're at Sasko Beach, my favorite beach to practice at. And you're looking out at the sun. It can be rising, it can be setting. The sunset is literally first aid for your heart. It is nourishment for your heart. Your heart is your ruler, your empress within, or your emperor. Maybe pause over your heart and just breathe in that sunset. Even though it's up on a screen, you use your imagination to become your reality. We're going to pay attention to the colors of red, pink, orange, soothing colors for the heart according to Chinese medicine. And we're moving into the fire element. The fire element oversees the heart and all of her helpers. The heart needs a lot of helpers. The heart has small intestine. Small intestine's like the secretary saying, not good for the heart, we're gonna let that go. It also has your pericardium, which is like the membrane around the heart. It's your heart protector. And we have another system called triple heater, Sanyin Jiao, which represents your body's thermostat. So you're neither too cold nor too hot, too friendly nor too aloof. You're just right in the center. Open up your arms, fly like you're a wide-winged bird. Smile, because actually when you smile, you lift up your heart. You lift up the heart meridian. We are imagining, yet becoming, a wide-winged bird like a crane. As we meditate on the fire element, notice how this gentle movement of your arms is good for the heart. Inhaling, long, slow, deep, gentle. Exhaling, even longer, slower, deeper, even more gentle, and then breathe into your heart. Exhale down. Spread your wings. Fly again like you're that beautiful, graceful, harmonious crane, maybe watching the sunset, waiting for a fish to swim by. Inhaling up. Exhaling down. One more time, maybe be a crane that brings its wings all the way up. Exhale down, lift the energy up to your heart, and then clear the heart as you gently push forward. Open up to new possibilities. Exhale the stress, the anxiety. Inhale the joy of being in the present moment. Exhale the too much of anything. Breathe in where we are right now as a group. Exhale, excess, doing too much. Inhale, just the right amount of effort. Breathe out what your heart no longer needs to carry for you, but you let it go with grace. Breathe in what your body and your heart needs. Exhale gracefully what your heart can release. And breathe in all and fold it into your heart. Maybe take a and come back to that sunset. Gaze at it. Sun gazing is so good for the heart. And I hope you all this summer can enjoy the sunset, sunrise, and know that it is deep nourishment for the heart. So the emotions, kind of like I spoke with the liver, with the wood element, the emotions are on one side, we have joy, we have creativity. The heart holds that. The heart can also hold stress and anxiety. It's not like we're saying, I can't hold stress. You just allow it to be there and you don't give it attention. You don't push it away or it will persist. So we hold both with grace. Slide your hands down to your left now and just massage over your left rib cage, spleen and stomach. And these colors work nicely also. The orb around the sun, that golden color. Spleen and stomach, those organ systems are governed by the earth element. So the earth element is actually my favorite. I guess we can have favorites, right? Mm-hmm. And the earth element, if I just hold here, is all about nourishment. Physical nourishment, emotional nourishment, energetic nourishment. It's what you take in, absorb, and assimilate. So spread your feet wide, anchor the toes down, and just rock back and forth as you just think about grounding with the earth. And I invite you to get outside this summer, take your shoes off on unfertilized lawn at the beach, and earth and ground. You literally discharge through your feet. Walking on the beach barefoot when you're tired is like magic. You come back refreshed. That's why earthing is so valuable. So this is earthing. We don't need to do much. We can just stabilize through our feet. These are our grounding cords. And you can imagine out of the solar plexus of each foot, like a corkscrew of energy going down into the earth. And it can go down thousands and thousands of miles, like a journey down into the waters, into the orb of the earth. So let's go into the earth now with our hands and bring the minerals, the nutrients of the earth up to our third eye and store the vitality, store the chi in our throat, in our heart, in our solar plexus, in our belly, in our low belly. Let's go down again like we're scooping up the earth or the waters, the oceans, and bring that energy into the body, storing and assimilating and absorbing all that you need. It's an inhale and a very long, luxurious exhale as you let it all settle in and down. In, out. In, out. Very good. And then one arm at a time, like you're literally harvesting in what you need. This is late summer, by the way. So earth represents late summer. Wood was spring, fire was summer, earth is late summer. Who likes late summer? I love late summer. I love September and early October. You harvest in those pumpkins and squash and all those earthy vegetables. You bring them into your body. It's the color of the earthy vegetables that are very good. And then we're just going to place our hands back on our left side, spleen, stomach, pancreas, and have gratitude for our earth organs. Emotionally, we honor that we are human and that sometimes we overthink and we over-ruminate. However, we also have abundant ability to trust and accept that we're in the right place. And that's the balance for the earth organs. We balance the excessive rumination or worry with trust and acceptance. This is why it's my favorite element. Trust is definitely my word. Up to the lungs. And the lungs are governed by the metal element. And that may, if we just massage our lungs here, may feel foreign, like what does that mean, metal? You know, I understand air. I've heard of air as a element for your lungs, but why is it metal? Well, in Chinese medicine, metal is discerning. It's literally like a metal axe that can chop through another element to create clarity. Yeah, we can change the slide. And so the metal element oversees two systems, lungs and large intestine. Lungs and large intestine work together. And it makes sense once, I think it will make sense once you understand it. The color is white, but it's like a mountain. Like that image really speaks to me of metal, the integrity of a mountain, the pinnacle of the mountain, the color of snow. So lungs breathe in. Large intestine filters out. Point with your, if you don't mind, don't point at each other, point down at the earth with your index finger. That's large intestine meridian. A graceful no. And inhale with your thumbs. Yes, breathe in new life. Exhale, twist the arms, peristalsis like the large intestine. Point down to the earth what you're composting. Inhale, open the lungs to the sky. Exhale, twist the arms, point the index finger down with a symbolic no. Inhale, new. Exhale, simply old, whatever you're done with. But your intention is really important here, and I think that is what makes Qigong a very beautiful practice, is we always anchor in our intention. I'm not telling you to open your arms, fold your arms, that's form. I want you to open your lungs and bring in the intention of space, of breath, of life force. And then as you breathe out, I want you to twist like this, right? This is what your large intestines do. They peristalsis out, peristalsis out the old. As you say a gentle no, but feel it just running off your arms like you're cleansing the body of anything that is old and stagnant. So this simple movement of opening and closing is good for the lungs. And all the lung meridians and large intestine meridians are in the arms. Same with the heart, by the way. Heart and lungs are in the arms. So when you move your arms, you are stimulating your metal element and your fire element. Let's change it up a little bit. Let's be the mountain. Let's imagine we're the top of that mountain peak. And then breathe out as you imagine polishing your lungs on the inside. As you exhale, push out the debris. Inhale, smooth underneath your lungs, and then open them up to their fullest potential. Exhale, clear and cleanse. Inhale, expand. Breathe in new life. We've forgotten how to breathe. Exhale. Inhale, all with the color of white light, like those mountain tops. Breathe out the darkness. Breathe in purity. Breathe out grief and sadness. Breathe in courage and integrity like a white tiger. Breathe out darkness. Breathe in white light. Exhale and then inhale and fold your hands up over your lungs again. Lungs and large intestine. Metal element is connected to autumn. I love autumn too. It's a season that can bring up some anxiety for me because everything is falling from the trees. But that's exactly what we're supposed to do. We are supposed to let go of our leaves, of what doesn't serve us anymore. And this is why this is such, I think, an important element when you are on a healing journey, to remember to let go. So emotionally, I spoke a little bit about the metal emotions. On one side, it's integrity and courage. On the other side, it's grief that hasn't been released or expressed. It can also be depression. It can be just down energy. So when you do Qigong, when you do these movements, you're actually activating the natural healing mechanism within the lungs and large intestine to regenerate and come into balance and harmony. So let's thank our lungs. Sweep your arms behind and either hands like this or like this, or one arm if one arm doesn't want to come back. And we're just going to massage our kidneys, and we'll go into our last element. Our last element, which we kind of started with that diagram, kidney and bladder, they are together. They are considered partners. And they're governed by the water element. They have an adorable little adrenal gland sitting on top, which actually is fire within the water, which is why I like this photo I took down at Laurel Beach in Milford, because you still see a sliver of the red, which for me is the fire element. But it's dark, blue, this almost black. And that's the color for your kidneys. So if you like the color blue, that probably means you really need nourishment for your kidneys. And water is good for you. Water element is good for you. Tap a little bit. Sound, a sound of ah. Make a water sound as we twist the spine and let the hands make a little stimulation on the kidneys, like we're sandwiching the kidneys. And every time you breathe out, you can make a water sound like. And then slow it down and make some waves. Making waves in a quiet pond. We can be a wave. We can be the ocean. We can be small waves, medium-sized waves, big waves, tidal wave. So I'm just inviting you to move your body as if you are a wave. I love the tidal wave. I love the undulation of my spine. I feel the stretch in my kidneys. But I also love just being a little gentle wave and finding my voice. Let's do the tidal wave. Maybe one as we bow down to the ocean. Inhale. Exhale. Clockwise circles are generating, energizing. So I'm starting with clockwise for me, and then I'm gonna do counterclockwise waves, which are grounding, stabilizing. Very good. Sweep your arms around, land them on your kidneys again. Let's breathe into the kidneys. And I hope you know you can breathe into them. Our breath doesn't just come out of here or here, it's the whole belly. So let's experiment breathing into our hands. As we breathe in, we bring in perseverance. And as we breathe out, we release our fears. We breathe in like water, flow energy, adaptability, changeability, movement. And we breathe out, again, fear. So those are the emotions. One last movement, which I think wraps it all up together, and we're going to picture ourselves as the earth. So we're going to be in the center of the circle. Up here is going to be water, believe it or not. Water represents winter. This is north. Down here is going to be summer. That's going to be fire. Out here is going to be spring. It's going to be east in the color green. Here is going to be west in the color white. And we're just going to play with it. We're in the center. Because often that's how you'll see the 5 elements, is the earth element is in the center as we whirl the emptiness, the Wuji wheel. And notice how your palms of your hands are communicating to all directions. North, south, east, west. Water, fire, wood, metal, coming back into center, into earth. Blue, red, green, white, yellow. This is our final movement. I am so grateful to have shared with all of you today. We're going to bring the energy really in now, condense it into all those colors. And we're going to spread it through our breast, through our chest area. We're going to clear and settle and fold our hands over our lower belly that we call our lower dantian. Namaste and sheshe. Thank you. I'm going to introduce Lisa who is phenomenal nutritionist, dietitian here to talk about the 5 elements.
Thank you, Julie. That was awesome. You a little invigoration for the end of the day. Again, my name is Lisa. I'm the dietitian nutritionist here at Smilo in Trumbull. And my expertise is a Western nutritionist, and we are talking about Eastern medicine, which is why I love being in the integrative medicine offices, because we get more of that. I don't want to be just a Western thinking. I like to have the broad spectrum of how things are looked at. So I'm kind of focusing on a book that I found called The 5 Elements Cookbook. And so the woman who wrote this book, and we want to switch to the next slide, she's actually, was born in Shanghai. She came here to the States and came here and did boarding school here in Pennsylvania. Then she got her nutrition degrees at NYU. And she holds her registered dietitian as a Western dietitian, but she has this great background of this Eastern. And so I think she just got really curious and started to blend the two. And so now she kind of does a lot of her mainstay is she's a traditional Chinese medicine chef, and she's a teacher and an educator. And her book, if you can check it out from the library or buy it, is beautiful. She's got great recipes, great details on Chinese medicine and the meridians and the different parts of it. So if you want to turn to the next page, Chinese medicine or traditional 5 elements food therapy is based on the yin and the yang. The yin and the yang, yin being the cooling and nourishing, yang being your more warming and invigorating. Covers the 5 flavors, and I believe you talked about that the last meeting that we had, but covering foods that are bitter, salty, sour, pungent, spicy. Each, when you do Chinese medicine, food therapy has a reason for whatever ailment and why you want to do it and when you want to have it and how you want to make it. It's really kind of a fascinating deep dive into like eating for health. So food is medicine is at the key. Which I think the States and the Western medicine is going more towards food as medicine. We're just not as sophisticated, I think, yet as what the Eastern medicine does. So the next part is the nature. We kind of went into that cold, dryness, dampness, summer heat, and wind. And with those elements during the different times of the year, you're going to want to be eating different things. When it's a hot day, you're going to want the cooling foods, and when it's a cold day, you want but they go even deeper than just that dynamic. And then the 4 key, or chi, do I pronounce that wrong? Ascending, descending, floating, sinking. And again, I'm not an expert on this, but this book really kind of puts it in a perspective for some of our Western minds to really kind of digest a little bit easier. And then the 5 vital substances. And those are the things that are specific to food theory for Chinese medicine and the 5 elements. But they also have individuality in the green, environmental awareness, and joyful eating, which I think is also part of Western medicine. So this is where I think, okay, we might not really cover the top 5, but we do where we're similar is the next 3: the individuality, differentiating based on people's unique places, environmental awareness, eating local, eating seasonal, and then just food doesn't have to be medicine; it can be for joy as well. So the next page. So in regards to individuality, when you look at it from TCM and Western, I'm just kind of doing a comparison here. Both are looking at, the individual as what their age is, their gender, their lifestyle. TCM tends to look more about the differences in their responses. And so really they look at the pattern diagnosis and the root causes why. So for instance, one of her examples in the book is insomnia. So in regards to the meridians, is it related to an overactive liver? Is it related to your heart blood? Is it related to your spleen? So based on that, if it were related to liver, then they might prescribe dandelion or calming ingredients. And so there's specific foods that would go in there. But if your insomnia was related to heart, it might be meat, it might be some other foods that you would look into. Versus when we look at the Western medicine, if someone has insomnia, we're going to say, oh, well, you just need melatonin, you need tryptophan, and you need magnesium, and we're not digging into like the why. It's just like, this is what works, kind of a thing. So again, I think TCM kind of again gets a little bit down into the root versus we are like, oh, we're just going to cover the symptom. Because for some people, melatonin doesn't work for them if they're not sleeping well. So maybe there's something different that eventually we can merge those two together. But I do think that as an individual, looking at nutrition, I am looking at is someone diabetic? Do they have food preferences? Do they have allergies? So there is a lot of individuality in Western nutrition therapy. It's just a little different than how the Chinese medicine does their nutrition. And then environmental awareness, again, kind of talked about it a little bit. If it's cold, you'd be eating different types of foods than when it's dry, damp, summer. And I didn't really get into the specifics, but there's some good stuff in this book that I love. But I also kind of thought it was interesting that they also talk about the cooking methods are really important. So for a stewed pear, if it's dry, you would want the pear to be stewed so that it's moist versus having a raw pear that would be more dry. Or steaming something. If you're having dryness, you would want to steam your foods rather than bake. That would make it more dry. And I don't think that's something we really touch upon, in Western nutrition. But they also, again, they're really attuned to eating locally, eating seasonally, eating when it's happening. You kind of mentioned it about in the fall, we want to eat those pumpkins and you want to eat the orange and you want to eat what's there and what's abundant. I do think, again, Western medicine is going in that way. There's so many great pioneers on seasonality and locality. Alice Waters, what was the book? Barbara Kingsolver once wrote a book way back when about, I love that book, and so getting back to like eating local, eating seasonal, eating things that are here and now and fresh. And then they are fresher when they reduce environmental impact for shipping things from wherever they're coming from, India or Peru, whatever else, versus just going to our local farmers market would be a better choice in terms of environmental and not wasting all that, polluting our earth by transporting it. And again, supporting our local agriculture. And then I think the basis of Mediterranean diet, that's one of the most studied diets, is all about that. The Mediterranean works so well and people have longevity because they're eating the local fish and they're eating the homegrown tomatoes and they're eating the stuff right there and then. And so when I see the magic of Mediterranean diet, it doesn't mean we have to eat fish and tomatoes. It means we should be eating what's here grown right now for us in the fall. Eat those apples that are wonderful that we have. Right now it might be, what season is it? Is it blueberry season yet? Strawberries? Do we just miss the I just missed the strawberries. But eating what's here, what's now, what's in our locality. And then the last, I think, of the pages is joyful eating. So I think I like to impart this on my patients mostly, that 80% of the time you should be eating well and eating the best you can with what you have towards you. But part of it is food is joy, food is celebrating, food is family. And if we're so stressed out about what we're eating, we're causing like anxiety and cortisol and all this in our body. And that causes, inflammation in our body. So I'm kind of let's eat for joy. Some of the time, it doesn't mean we want to eat cake all the time, but you're having a birthday, have that slice of cake. And so TCM, specifically this book, kind of talked about their food therapy. She likes to hide medicine in the food by making it appealing, making it colorful, making it rainbow. And I think that's, for me, I eat with my eyes. When I see something, a big bowl of lots of color and vegetables, that makes me want to eat it, So hiding the medicine is all those great plant-based foods. So get more of those. She talked about prioritizing enjoyment and functionality and of sustainable and nourishing wholesome food for both the emotional and physical body. And I kind of think I dropped down to that. There's so much new information on the brain-gut basis. And so again, if we're positive about our food, then our gut's going to be happy. And if our gut's happy, our brain's going to be happy. So you want to make sure that we feed our gut, we feed our brain so that they work together in tandem and give us balance and keep us nourished well. And then one of the things specifically to the TCM is, okay, so fried chicken is your favorite thing. You know, how can you take that fried chicken and balance it? So then I think her example is, okay, if you love fried chicken, you want to counteract the heat and the oil with cooling and watering foods. So you can still enjoy your foods, but do it in a way so that, you know, it provides balance. And I feel like sometimes, and I have that on my last one, a lot of times I have patients who are diabetic. And carbs are important, but as a diabetic, you want to have fewer of them. And so to keep your blood sugars from going up, have small amounts of those carbs, but have them with your protein, have them with your good fats, have them with your non-starchy, high-fiber vegetables that take longer to digest, so that when you're eating your carb, now your carb's taking longer to digest. So as a synergetic thing, just having your carb by yourself, you're going to have blood sugar spikes, but if you eat it as a whole in a combination, you do better. And again, talked about the 80-20 rule, and then, there are a lot of nutritionists, and I kind of believe that is being intuitive eating, letting your body know, okay, I'm full, this is enough, I need, so I think that's kind of what's similar in terms of covering the food, joyful eating and food is joy. And that's kind of my little, quick little version on the comparison of Eastern, Western, and again, this would be a fun book if you find that interesting and want a little more details. Check it out at the library. Yeah. Thank you.
Any questions?
You said something really interesting about the eating locally, which is, I've been trying to do for years. But I found interesting in the book that we were talking about earlier about micronutrients being lost in transportation foods, which I never knew. And a lot of really essential nutrients that our body needs is lost because it's picked early, it's not right, and or it's just grown in a sort of void of a growing solution. I'm not saying that hydroponic, but a lot of the monocultures, it's just depleted soil that has no nutrients in it. So you're not going to get those nutrients that your body really needs. So
yeah, so that's why sometimes they say frozen fruits and vegetables sometimes are better anyway, because they get picked, flash frozen, and so they're not losing along the way.
That's so interesting.
And not every fruit and vegetable is that same. I'm gotta go to a food science person who does those measurements, which ones lose, which ones don't. But so frozen is a great option.
Thank you.
Any more questions before we move along? All right. So let me see if I can manage two computers at the same time. See how this works. So 5 elements there is as a music therapist, I really look at evidence-based ways that music can improve our quality of life in various domains. I'm a neurologic music therapist, so I also look at physical from a deeper level. Here, really emotional and spiritual, cognitive and social, and really tuning into music in a deeper way. I love using music as metaphor in a really psychodynamic way. That's also my primary approach that I use music therapy. There is this whole other piece when we look at the elements. When I think of the elements in music, I think of like rhythm, harmony, melody, silence, and like form and structure. And I've got a whole song about that I was going to go in that direction, but then I thought, let me do a deep dive into this. So what this mostly entails is the use of pentatonic scales, which I brought a little keyboard so we can explore some different sounds. And the basis of pentatonic scales is that there's no dissonant notes. On a piano, when you have 2 notes together, it creates dissonance, that half step of sound. And there's no half steps in Chinese music therapy or in pentatonic scales. So it's really built to be this very relaxing, kind of easy sounding kind of music. So I have some examples to listen to from the literature and from Chinese music therapy examples. But what this really is In Western music therapy, again, like the Western versus the Eastern, first of all, I want to share, I've studied Western music therapy. This idea of Chinese music therapy is something that I've researched recently, pretty extensive, but is not my primary background. So I really want to differentiate that there are people out there who are probably more aware and more experts in this. But it's kind of interesting to check this out, and we'll do some listening and we'll see what we notice about things. So it uses the 5 elements associated with 5 musical tones. And it's kind of aligned with the Western version of solfege. And I'm going to botch these names. We've got Ju, Ji, Yang, Shang, and Yu. And it correlates with the 5 organs, which we learned about quite a bit. Each element and its corresponding tone are also linked to specific emotions and can be used in therapeutic contexts to balance and harmonize the body and the mind. One thing that I'm assuming they do in traditional Chinese, when they're using music therapy, I know that in Chinese medicine there's a whole assessment process, and they look at what organs are out of balance. So what you would then do is find the right kind of music to create that balance. But what we can do today is intuitively listen and just notice what feels right to us. So we've got the earth tone. It's associated with the musical tone gong, sometimes translated as a C in Western music. So when I did a little bit of a deep dive in here, I realized kind of pulling in from chakra theory, we see a lot of like singing bowls, for example. So like the root chakra is a C, and the sacral chakra is a D, and it goes up, but we don't necessarily have any evidence-based research that shows that those are actually the vibrations of these different chakras. What it really is they're kind of it's the use of the scale going up, just as we're ascending in the body, and the use of the scale going down. And what we would call that in music language is we would use different modes in order to access things. So my awareness at this point in time, based off of the research that I found, is that root chakra can be any note, and the corresponding other things would follow that, as long as you're aware of what notes would follow it in a music theory context. So, earth, what I have here is, I am using just a C note today to kind of keep it simple. So what we would do is kind of establish the root tone, which is a C. We've got this nice drone in the background. And the description of this is elegant, soft, smooth, thick, and solemn. The instrument that represents this quality, and this kind of varies from source to source, but you might imagine what sounds earthy. To me, I imagine like deep, resonant drums, and I imagine just like low, earthy sounds. But a lot of the research that I showed is that like string instruments really are what we've got. Oh, that's not it. Now let me turn up the guitar. There we go. So this is the Chinese pentatonic scale. So these would be the notes that you to demonstrate a little bit so that we can kind of tune in using some similar sounds and then take a look at some examples from the music. So, a moonlit night on the spring river. Here's an arrangement of that piece of music. And just listen to about 30 seconds or so. Fast forward a little into the song because this is a really beautiful elongated intro to kind of get a sense of the keep tuning into that one, and my goodness gracious. So the pieces of music I found are all rooted in Chinese music. I'm not aware of any Western music people who have like rewritten, or Western musicians who have rewritten these and kind of utilized them using some more modern instruments that we might be in tune with, but I think that that's a future project to look into. But what you can do is you can take these modes and you can use essentially any instrument to recreate them. And when I was here, when we did our presentation last month, we actually recreated using some tone bells as a group that first element there. So the wood element associated with the musical tone zhu, sometimes translated as a note E in Western music, and it's connected with the liver and anger. So the melody description is stretched, melodious, far-reaching, and full of vitality. A flute or a wind instrument is what describes this. Let me switch my instruments over. And we're in wood. And we'll listen to an example in a moment, but for now we've got our tone E. What do I have? Sound. So minor being like the more happy, sadder sounds, and like the major being, so it kind of is like this really beautiful balance of some really tender emotions is kind of what I sense from here. And our example here. So you can really hear the medicine in the sound as far as its capacity to maybe bring us down when we are in that angry or irritable space. It's not too bright and in your face. It kind of has this really balanced sound to it. And we've got fire now, musical tone G, sometimes translated as the mode of G in Western music. Which would be a Mixolydian mode. We don't quite have the blue notes here, but it is like one that's commonly used in jazz too. But this is a mode that is relaxed and cheerful. Instruments that represent this might be like electric guitar, might be a possibility. Example is Festive Joy from the literature here. But let's take a peek, just kind of to tune in. We've got G. Turn my guitar back on over here. Wish I could like bring all these instruments in. I just don't have the capacity for that today. Ears kind of want to hear it resolve to that, but this is like the base of the tone. So it kind of has like, to me, the sense of like happiness, but like longing. Like we're kind of looking for like a different resolution is the sense, which is like essentially like fire, right? It's kind of spontaneous and in different places. So here is an example of Festive Joy. All my examples that I'm playing on this keyboard are at like a slower BPM. I think I would have like shifted that one to be this, but BPM, beats per minute, so it's like 60, which is like the in the clock tempo. But we're just kind of again comparing and kind of contrasting the sounds.
I like how with that one everybody was like,
Yeah. There's a really sweetness to it. Metal. So musical tone Sheng, sometimes translated as D in Western music, and this is like the Dorian mode, which is really used in jazz a lot, and it is a sadder mode. It's not quite as like concrete as like a typical minor sad mode like Aeolian, but it does have like some interesting steps to it. So this is long sorrow, worry, high-pitched, tragic, sonorous and majestic. You might hear it on bells, gongs, or piano. And the general's command is the example for this. So let's take a listen first. We've got our middle D. Again, kind of same notes. And a piano here. Let me start that one again. So that was the basic sound structure, and here's an example. Meets you right there in the sorrow. Ready to take you down and be with whatever, like the worry and sorrow you're really feeling. Really powerful arrangement there. That's really beautiful. All right, Wada, musical tone U, translated with A, quiet and soft. It's connected to kidneys and fear. Flowing resonant sounds, whooshing or the harp. Butterfly Lovers is the example that I found for this one. There's a few different versions. Let's try the National Symphony Orchestra. motherly, like embracing. It's gonna be okay. It's all right, kidneys. We can chill out now. Just very, very nurturing. Like water. It's very like holding and surrounding. Instruments. So this form of music therapy has been Binzhong. I'm so sorry to whoever's watching this and knows that I'm pronouncing this. It's atrocious. This was found in an emperor's tomb. It was found it was known to be from 433 BCE. So they have just these ancient sounds, which I didn't add to this. Let me pull it up real quick. I'm gonna add it to my playlist. We might imagine that our tonal systems have changed over the years. Or we might remember that our tonal systems. I have the original recordings of these bells somewhere. I'd like to do actually, while we're listening to this, is pull up a little video. So I'm going to stop my share over here. Apologies. Get it over. Oh. Now I can slide it over. There we go. Expand it over there and then share it over here to Zoom someday. So used in conjunction with other instruments. I really wish I had like a subwoofer to offer to you guys so we can really hear the depth of those tones, because I'm sure that we're just getting a little blip of it. And I want to kind of fast forward a little. But they have recordings of these. I'm sorry, I didn't prepare. There's a lot that I was learning.
The image that you showed us earlier it's the same size, like
Yes.
it's that large, it's that large of an instrument.
Yes.
Really interesting.
Yes. Yeah, that's what we're looking at. Huge. And the original versions of these, like they're so atonal, perhaps from the years, but also maybe they listened and heard things differently back in the day.
And that went into an emperor's tomb.
What's that?
That was in the emperor's tomb. So it must have been
Yeah.
a big tomb.
Oh, it was, yes. Yeah. I can't remember what else they found in there, but he had some treasures that he had buried with him for sure. It's in a museum somewhere. So I always love a good evidence-based piece of research So over, and I'm not sure if it was in China or Japan, but they took a look at 22 studies with folks with cancer to kind of wrap it around to the oncology piece. So an analysis of 5-element music therapy, and this is primarily just like assessing what your needs are and listening, had a significant difference for relieving depression, improving sleep quality, and KPS, which it's an assessment of functional skills, ability to do some functional skills. But they did not show an effect on anxiety. So kind of interesting. But that is what I've been able to gather as far as my knowledge of 5-element music therapy. Are there any questions or comments on that? I look forward to kind of recreating these in a little bit more of a formal and composed process. So if anyone wants to start a 5-element music therapy band with me, we can rock out to some of these sounds. But yeah, thank you so much. Thank you all thank you Julie, thank you Lisa for presenting. So grateful for your knowledge and wisdom. Thank you all for being here and joining us and for tuning in with this Harmony and Health episode. Next time we meet will be for this series is in September. I believe it's September 4th, and it is I'm forgetting the title, but I know that our chaplain will be on board. Julie will be there. I think you're going to be I hope you're going to be at all of them because I just adore having you here. So we're going to talk about the importance of spirituality and spiritual support in our lives. Cool. So thank you all.